Decepticons, a toast to the imminent destruction of the accursed Autobots. Energy! Boy, these are good. This stuff's the greatest.
Konnichiwa. Genki desu ka? Welcome back to the Rocket Blast podcast. Nihongo ga wakarimasu ka?
What he said, yeah.
Me neither.
I don't know what he said. I know konnichiwa. That's all I know. Come on, man.
So today we'll be discussing Transformers and the country of origin, Japan.
Japan. That's right.
So what the first toy company was not Hasbro for this property.
No, it was not.
It was Takara
Toys, or they could say if they are things backwards, or it's they say their names. No, I'm not gonna go there.
I don't think so. No. I only speak Skoshi.
Yes, Takara Toys. I hope you're saying that right.
Yeah. Oh, that's the point of that intro is that we're going to probably butcher a lot of this, not on purpose though.
No. Me on the other hand, man, I butcher names anyway. That's how I do. I mean, sorry if I offend someone. I'm sorry. That's how I am. So I mean, Dakota knows this.
We had to create a little song ahead of time for Bob Budiansky.
Yes, and I think he would not be happy the way we said it.
So we won't sing it. But now we know it.
Yes.
So we're good to go.
Bob Budiansky. I said it right.
Yeah.
Yay.
From here on, Bob.
Yes.
So now the origins of the Transformers goes pretty far back. Actually, in fact, if we're going to talk about robots from Japan, let's go all the way back.
Well, how far?
I mean, right after the bomb.
The bomb. Which bomb are we talking about, man?
I mean, I know there was a couple, but
the main two, right?
We'll combine the two because it's just too much.
I got like what you said, combine.
Yeah, there will be that.
There will be a lot of that.
So we've got Atomic Boy,
right?
which becomes Astro Boy.
Yes, in America they call him Astro Boy. In Japan it's Atomic Boy. Yeah, America bombed the living daylights out of Japan doing.
They said don't remind them what they did.
Yeah, they
Call it
did.
Astro,
yes.
But it did become the Atomic Age.
Right. And during that time, Atomic Age, it had we got Godzilla from that, right? We got that, and we got Astro Boy from that.
And Gigantor.
And all in black and white. Everything was in black and white.
It
right?
was pretty much black and white for a bit.
Right, yeah.
Now that is Osamu Tezuka for Astro Boy.
Okay. Man, you're pretty good at this, man.
Godfather of manga and anime.
See, you're good at that. I have a hard time pronouncing that.
Well, once I've said it once, we move on.
Right. Don't say it again. Because, for you guys, manga is a visual. It's like comic books in Japan, but,
Unfortunately, they're more popular here than American comic books, so I think they know.
They really know, right?
I think they know.
Yeah.
Anyone who's been in a bookstore can see that clearly somebody won when it comes to.
For God's sake, I work at a comic book shop, so I have people come to me talk about manga.
Yeah, Takara had a few different lines of toys.
Right. They had, so the line, it was 2 toy lines.
So real quick before we get too far into that, so 40s, 50s, it's moving on
to the 60s and 70s.
So the 60s sees G.I.Joe in 64, and there's a reason to bring that back up again.
Yes. Yeah, so 60s was the G.I.Joe.
Yeah.
And later on in the 70s too, I believe.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So the reason why we're saying this is this a correlation, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of importing and exporting going on here.
Right. Right.
And I guess you wouldn't technically call it cultural appropriation because they're paying for it.
No, they're not. No, because someone's getting paid.
They're getting licenses.
Right.
And, yeah.
So what Dakota is saying is that Takara Toys actually had obtained a license for G.I. Joe, which is kind of odd to us because That is,
I think they called it American Fighting Man.
a fighting man. Okay,
Very literal translation, I'm sure. So yes, they did have it. It didn't do super well. However, they got pretty creative with it. They said, I'm looking for Harold the Naturalist. He's hiding somewhere here.
God, why you didn't get him, man?
Actually, he's not. He's never far away.
Right.
But that's it. I'm grabbing him.
Oh, come on, dude. You grabbing him already? Oh, see. The
reason being.
Hello there.
So what the car? That's what we're talking. I'm sorry.
They're translucent.
They really are.
Japan.
In Japan, they're translucent, so you can see through it. So what they did is Takara Toys got the model for the G.I. Joe, and they made it translucent.
Yeah.
So
really, really cool, actually.
Really, you're right.
Right out of the gate, it's like, why did they have no business making this stuff infinitely cooler right away?
None whatsoever. So they made him translucent, but the cool part was he had interchangeable parts.
Yes. Yeah.
That was the cool part, man.
And that is the meaning of the word. Oh boy, is it
Henshin.
Transformation in Japanese is henshin. To transform is henshin suru.
And they called it Cyborg.
Yes, Cyborg,
I believe. Yeah.
Which makes it proper because he's doing interchangeable parts. So you put him one piece at a time, and he was called Cyborg.
Yeah. And I guess that's what the Japanese superheroes say. Like, Superman goes in the phone booth, he's, shouts that out and changes.
Dai henshin.
That's what I learned from the internet.
Internet could be your best friend.
Or. So, yes, they had the clear plastic, which was really neat. Some of them, later on, they go ham. I mean, like different colors, like schemes, like kind of like really cool gradients and such. So that was its own line.
Yes, it was its own line.
And they kind of started to come into the 70s, the problem of the energy crisis.
See, I want you guys to listen. Just a little bit of history lesson here.
I'll take a sip.
You take a sip of that. It was a little history in the energy crisis, right? So things got very expensive, right?
Yes.
So they had to kind of cut costs on a lot of things, and they decided to shrink them down a little bit.
Yeah, so to some degree, I'm not lying when I've said Star Wars probably inspired Hasbro to shrink down to that 3.75, but they weren't the first.
No.
It goes back to essentially this idea of shrinking them down to Microman.
Yes, Microman. So they shrunk them down to Microman, which is more affordable, and it was fun to play with.
And in Japan, their living space is much smaller.
Right. It's much smaller.
You're not gonna be fitting all of this stuff into a typical Japanese apartment.
No, you're not. Yes, so
they don't got room for your bullshit. So they shrunk them down. So think about it. With Harold there, if you had a regular size, that's my prejudice of the 80s is the regular
size, right?
But no, if you shrink them down to that real American hero size, you could almost fit one inside.
Yes.
Of Harold.
That's right.
He'd probably like it too, but we're not anyway. But the Microman was eventually given Robotman.
That's right, Robotman. Microman was very popular at the time, along with Roboman. And so it was an American corporation.
Mego? Yes.
Mego was like, hey, man, here to see what's in Japan. You see what's going on over there?
Yeah, this 3.75 is
That's
pretty
right,
cool.
man. It's pretty cool.
And you're used to that big Mego toys.
Yeah, right. So they saw a profit there. And what happened is they went to Japan, and, it's Microman in Japan, but when they come overseas over here, we calls Micronauts.
And when Micronauts start a child's imagination working, he can create just about anything. Toys that climb, toys that spin, toys that float. Toys that stimulate young minds.
Look what I made.
Bruh.
Which Micronauts at the time was the big Ray. Look.
This is starts at Marvel in the late 70s.
Right.
And at the toy level, it's also a 70s toy, obviously. And what I find super fascinating, I do start to nerd out quite a bit because I've always wondered, okay, this is a cassette player.
Right.
But this is a semi-truck? Come on.
Hold on, man. It's an 18-wheeler.
It's an 18-wheeler. I apologize. Yes. I didn't know there was a technical difference
18-wheeler. Wheeler.
But
semi-truck.
there's different sizes. Megatron is a gun. He's a full-size gun that a small child would be running around in the park playing with. Probably wouldn't be great today.
No, we're not.
With bump stocks and everything in Japan, they had a whole line of just the guns, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but you live in a different time, though. I mean, right now, you cannot have that.
In a different country.
In a different country. You can't do that in the United States, man. You want a gun like that right now, they make think it's a real gun, you might shoot a kid.
Yeah.
You know, it happens.
It does.
Yes. Unfortunately.
Yeah. So they made it so that these little Micromans could go inside of Robotman and be the pilot.
Right.
Instantly. How cool is that? Like,
and see where we're going with this, right? The early stages of Transformers.
Yes.
The early stages.
Oh, yeah. There's so much goodness that we might not even get to Transformers. Micronauts continue something that already started in Japan, which is this idea of the micro-universe.
Yes. So
which, they just put out a giant movie pretty much based on that concept.
The quantum realm of Ant-Man and the Wasp, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Quantumania.
Tell me what to be.
I don't know, just don't be a dick.
And that's, I mean, it really all is going back to the fact that, and this has been my hypothesis ever since
I want to hear this.
I
want to hear this.
It all starts from basically kids wanting to be the masters of their universe. And,
wow, I see what you did there. Oh, man.
They want to be the one, like, this is a little world and they're in charge of it.
Yeah.
See, so these little toys, they get to pretend they're in this small microverse. So that's kind of where it actually comes from.
That's your hypothesis on that thing?
Well, now I've been proven correct because we did the research.
Yeah, we did, didn't we? But that's pretty cool, though. Give a kid a wild imagination that they control these little figures,
that's exactly
right?
It. Yep.
And they do that.
I think they made it like the whole premise of it was like you control their fate, kind of thing.
Right. And a little side note, though, Micronauts, was, since, they had a little comic book that lasted 59 issues, I believe.
Who's that?
Micronauts.
Yes.
Micronauts. So they had 50 from 1979 to 1984.
This isn't too off topic, but I have to bring it up.
Bring it up.
Okay. So now we know Micronauts was partially a Jim Shooter overseen thing.
Yes,
Bill Mantlo wrote
that. Yes,
those.
he did.
But Jim Shooter, did you know? So in 1966, and I didn't give him props in the last video about G.I.Joe, I should have. Stan Weston is the originator of the original G.I. Joes. Came to Hasbro, said, I got this idea, sold it for like $100,000. But he took that money and went and licensed Marvel Comics characters, DC Comics characters, Star Trek, a whole mess of pop culture characters. And then he took it to Ideal Toy Company, creators of Betsy Wetsy and later on the Rubik's Cube. Stan essentially said, let's come up with a generic action figure, very similar, same kind of articulation, same basic size as the G.I. Joes were at that time. And you get to decide if it's Captain America, Superman, any character that they had the licenses to. But it was Captain Action.
Captain Action! Captain Action! So super powerful you can change him into 9 of the mightiest superheroes of all time.
Captain Action.
And Dr. Evil was his enemy.
Really?
Yep.
Not the Evil.
Yeah, not the one you're probably thinking
Oh,
of.
man.
But he did wear the same kind of suit. It was I can't remember the name of those East Indian suits. Very slick, very smooth.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But his brain was exposed. It was a lot weirder. His eyes were bugged out and pretty neat. But Captain Action was given a comic then in the 1968 DC Comics. Guess who wrote that in their teens?
Jim Shooter.
Jim Mother-Lovin' Shooter.
Wow.
This guy has had a hand in all of these toy-related properties.
He's a legend.
Yeah. Think about it. Secret Wars.
Oh, the toy line. Yes.
The toy line. And then, of course, we're still going to be getting this, if I'm not mistaken, in the future, right?
Yes.
As a big Marvel MCU movie.
Oh, man, that's another topic in itself.
I'm just saying this man,
Yeah.
did a lot with regards to all of this.
Yes, he did.
But back to Japan, then they've got the micro change.
Which change dealt with. Now let's go back again. Like we said, Takara Toys had 2 toy lines. They had 2. It was Diaclone.
They probably had a few, but yeah.
Yeah, Diaclone and Micro Change were the main 2. Mm-hmm. And they were different scales.
Yeah.
Like Diaclone dealt with the semi.
カーロボット隊は移動基地バトルコンボイを完成させた。大型トレーラーはフリーゾンエネルギーの補給、整備ドック、司令基地としての役割を果たす。バトルコンボイの登場でカーロボットの世界が変わる。移動基地バトルコンボイ。
18-wheeler truck, you know, bigger cars and bigger toys. And Micro Change dealt with cassette tapes, guns, smaller cars, cameras,
Yeah.
all the little things around the house, watches too. So they had all that.
Yep.
This is just everyday things.
Yeah.
You know, in the house or in an apartment, anything like it was everyday things, and it was pretty neat, man. What you think about it, and that's where Soundwave really come from.
Yeah. Cassette Man.
Cassette Man.
All right. Who put this tape in here? I know who it was, but I'm not going to say names. But yes, it was. It was essentially these little guys.
Yes, Buzzsaw, Laserbeak, Rumble, all those guys.
Yep.
So that was the template.
And Bumblebee, and so that's something that all my life I was confused about. I'm like, why is Bumblebee this big, and then Optimus Prime is this big? It's because he was a part of those original micro change.
That's
ones.
right, and I was like you too. So you know, this like Cliff Jumper, Bumblebee,
All those little guys. Yeah.
yeah, Braun and all those Huffer, all those guys.
Huffer.
I had him. I had him as a kid, man. Oh, let me reminisce for a second here.
5 hours later.
Huffer. I had that guy too. You know. But anyway.
I thought you were going to reminisce about huffing. I'm like, this is going in the wrong direction.
No.
Yeah, the Diaclones would be a lot more like the original Starscream size,
Yes.
I think. So there's quite, it's interesting as to why there's such a variety of sizes and body types.
But it makes it so fun though. As a kid, you look at this and think, wow, this.
Yeah, if you might not have been able to afford Omega Supreme, but you got Bumblebee. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I know that would be like, okay, please just get me this one. These are cheap, okay, fine.
No, when I was a kid, I wanted Optimus Prime, man.
Of course.
I wanted him. I mean, he was the guy.
This was the one I wanted.
Yeah,
This is my
But you know what? As a kid, I had to get Bumblebee or Cliff Jumper or it's the smaller ones.
Yeah.
As a kid, I wanted the larger one. I wanted a Mega Supreme.
Yeah.
But now, as an adult, guess what? I can afford it.
Yeah. Well, I thought you were going to say you have them, but you're like, no.
No, I can afford it. I haven't got them yet. I ain't got them yet, man.
I mean, Fortress Maximus.
Oh God.
I've seen some customs on it where they've like cleaned up some things, changed out some parts, and like really just made it perfect. And oh my God.
See, we're gonna talk about that later in the podcast about the like Fortress Maximus and all like that because he was part of the Headmasters.
Yeah.
That's down the line.
Which comes later.
Yeah, so Hasbro was at the Toy Expo in Japan. I mean, Hasbro always looking for the next big thing.
Yeah.
And they was getting all kinds of offers from different companies.
Yeah.
But somehow, Hasbro caught their eye on Takara Toys. And right then and there, they signed a long time deal. Takara Toys and Hasbro did.
And I think they made some effort to sort of make it there's some kind of continuity even before it came to America.
Right. And, but yeah, because when America went to that toy fair, like I said, they were looking for the next big thing. And then you had a representative named, what's his name? Henry Orenstein?
That sounds right. Yeah, Orenstein.
Orenstein. So he got credit for naming those toys the name that we got today.
Yeah.
They called them Transformers because people said Transformers. What? that don't sound good. I mean, who's want to buy Transformers?
A Transformer.
Well, Transformer, but you put an S on it, it's Formers. It's not, because people get confused with Transformer from like the power company.
I'm not gonna lie. As a kid, when people told me that those were Transformers, I'm like, that's so cool.
Right.
I'm like, it's gonna change.
I didn't know as a kid.
Oh, you didn't?
I didn't know.
They hummed.
Yeah, they
like,
did.
Sit there and like, there's power in here.
Yeah, so he came up with the name of the Transformers.
Yeah.
You know, he got credit for it. He did a lot of other things too, but you know,
Which is a pretty literal translation though of that original Japanese name that means transform. Transform, yeah.
Yeah. So that happened, you know, at the toy fair.
Yeah.
And so there's another person.
Of course.
I hope I don't mess up the name. The other person who kind of designed the other 28 figures, because it was 26 toys, but it was total 28 figures. He also did Macross Robotech and everything like that. And the little side note there, one of the Transformers,
just one,
was called Skyfire at the time, had the mold of a Robotech robot.
Yes.
See,
which was really not a smart move.
Was not
on their part.
No, it was not smart at all. So his name is Shoji Karamari.
Shoji.
I guess I'm saying it right.
Yeah,
it's right.
Kawamari. Yep.
Kawamari. Okay, see, I got it right.
I had to make sure you didn't say calamari.
Oh, I know what calamari is. Yeah. So he helped design some of the figures.
Yeah, 28. You said.
Yeah, 28 of them. Right. So back to Jim Shooter. What you just said.
Yeah.
So Hasbro, back to the United States. Hasbro has acquired these toys from Takara. Takara Toy. They acquired these toys and they gave them a name. Finally gave them a name. So they go to Jim Shooter. Hasbro does. He said, "Look here, Jim. I'm just one. You know."
He was there.
I was there, man.
Fly on the wall.
Fly on the wall. He said, "Look here, Jim. We got this new toy coming out, and we definitely need a story behind these toys."
And now, bear in mind, this is the person who wrote Captain Action in 1968 as a child.
He was a teenager.
And then wrote, overseen the Micronauts, but overseen that, oversaw Rom.
So he's batting 1,000 right now. He's doing well.
Yeah.
He's doing well. So they gave him the task of making names and bios for these toys. Mm-hmm. And Jim thought it was really cool. Who doesn't like a toy that's an actual truck and changed to a robot? Who doesn't like that?
People that don't like puzzles.
Well, we're the exception because I don't do puzzles. But hey, as a kid,
but if the puzzle's going to turn into a killer robot,
right, yeah, that's different. You know, he's a badass robot.
That's pretty cool.
It's different, man. So, so Jim was given a job, by Marvel to come up with a story for these so-called toys called so-called toys called Transformers.
Robots in disguise. Transformers. More than meets the eye. The Transformers from Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
You know? So what he did is he went to, let's say his name. No, first, let me go back some. Dennis O'Neil, I'm saying that right?
Denny O'Neil.
Denny O'Neil, he was given the task also come up with these names and bios. But he never finished it. I think he had other projects, I guess, at the time.
So what's some of the big ones or one of the
that he named?
Yeah.
Well, he named Optimus Prime.
Uh-huh.
See, he already named them. Mm-hmm. So he got that out of the way.
Yeah.
So he didn't finish the project. So he goes to someone else. So he said, you know what? Let's see what Bob
Budiansky.
There you go. Thanks for completing that for me, sir. See what he's doing right now.
Yeah.
So he goes to Bob. Say, Bob, I got this new toy line for Hasbro, and I need a story. I need names. I need bios. They call it Decepticons and the Autobots. See, this is cool. And Bob had only a weekend to get this right.
Yeah, because I guess they had the bullpen give Jim all this stuff, and Jim looked at it and said, "This is garbage."
Right.
Give it to Bob. He's got the weekend. So we can forgive him for, honestly, as a kid, I'm like, as I grew up, I'm like, okay, Nurse Ratched and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Nah. Yeah. He was like, Ratchet. There you go.
There you go.
It's the medic.
The medic.
There's no time to slow down.
Yeah, so he came up with the gun and everything. Now, by this time, the gun, it said MegaTON. And the story behind that is that they didn't want that name at first.
So they were scared.
Just
Kids are
scared.
going to be scared of this. It's okay to give a kid what looks like a real freaking handgun and let them run around with it, but you don't want to name it Megatron.
Yeah, you want to name Megatron.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they stuck with Megatron. By the way, it was the best decision they made.
Yeah,
as far as a villain.
And I think the answer he gave them was, it's the villain. You want the kids to be a little scared.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Who wanted a villain to have a name that's like rainbows and stuff like that? Come on, man. Megatron.
Yeah.
That's really scary.
And the irony being is, as a kid, I didn't know what a megaton bomb was.
I didn't either.
I didn't know, the meaning of that. I just heard Tron and knew that sounds robotic.
Because they had a movie at the time, right, named Tron.
Well, of course.
From the video game.
Tron.
Yeah.
There's a Robotronic. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, they came up with 26 names in bios.
Yeah.
And I know Jim Shooter came up with the backstory.
So
and
that's
the premise
the Eternal
of
War.
Eternal War, yeah.
Cybertron.
Sorry I'm late. Hit a little traffic. Optimus.
Decepticons, attack!
Autobots, fall back!
Cybertron, this war against Decepticons, Autobots and Decepticons. It's been a civil war for many, many, many years, right? And that was the premise is on Cybertron.
Yeah.
And these sentient robots that have like personalities and got feelings.
Oh my, it's paradise.
Bob's reasoning for, he said, Jazz. The idea was that these are robots. Let's humanize them to some extent. And what's more human than Jazz?
That's your cue, Jazz. Give me your best performance. Wish me luck.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So Bob came up with the names and the bios and stuff like that. And it was first a mini series at first. It was 1 through 4. It was a 4 limited series, mini series at first. Then it became an ongoing series after number 4.
Okay. So
yeah.
they just kept the ball rolling.
They kept it rolling, right. So that happened. So issue number 5, I think Bob actually wrote.
Okay, yeah. Yes, because now once again, going back to ROM and Micronauts, I believe it was Bill Mantlo that started the plot.
Right.
For those early ones. Mm-hmm. And then it was given over to Bob to keep that going.
Man, I got some ice in my mouth. I want to
cool.
chop it off my bad. Man, I'm drinking this stuff right here.
This stuff.
This ice and drinking this. Good stuff, man.
So he the ball gets tossed a lot. You can kind of tell that they're so it's a lot faster than the G.I. Joe gestation period.
Yes, it is.
You've got all of this, the comics, the toys, the cartoons, all coming out in 84.
84. All of it coming out in 84.
Whereas G.I. Joe had like 82 to get the ball rolling, and then 83.
But I think I think Hasbro thought, you know what, G.I. Joe was until we figured it out.
Yeah.
So G.I. Joe was a success. So we're gonna do this formula right here.
Yeah.
Toys, comic, then cartoon.
And that probably led to a little bit of that helter-skelter quality of like, okay, we got to get all this done in a weekend kind of thing.
Right thing. And it had to meet a deadline, in other words,
And Ralph Macchio was one of the earliest
Not the Karate Kid, not the Karate Kid, guys.
I'm sure he gets that a lot.
Yes, right?
And so he was one of the first scripters.
Yes.
But Bill Mantlo was the plotter.
Yes.
So, yes. Now, the backstory, all of that's going. They've got these characters ready for the toys. They've come up with all of this big epic storyline.
Yes.
And, with the cartoon on the horizon, I think it would be fun to sort of go back to, I guess it's in the, Bob is probably writing it well into issue 50.
Issue 50, I believe.
Something.
Issue 55, 54, 5 to 54, I believe.
Okay, somewhere around there.
Somewhere around that area.
56 or 55 is when Simon Furman.
Right, you're right.
So now, he's not on the American book for Transformers for a long time.
Yes, that's right. He's still there for 56 to 80, I believe.
Okay, so yeah.
So the series lasts from 1 through 80, but in between the Transformers comic book, you had a mini series of the Headmasters was one. Then you had a crossover with the G.I. Joe also. You got to remember that.
Yeah. So, yeah, because that's big in terms of like just once again we were saying about the synergy of this. We've got one success. It only makes sense to sit there. I mean, and really that's something Marvel Comics and the MCU movie studios really gets right.
Yes.
I mean, even back to way before even Stan Lee, when their little apartment bullpen of writers and artists said, let's have a battle of all battles between Namor the Submariner and the Human Torch. It basically said, wait, you mean these all share a universe?
Mm-hmm.
And that just changes
the whole dynamic.
A lot of that.
A lot of it, yeah. And so what Transformers did was pretty cool in the miniseries I was talking about is that they actually put Marvel characters in their books.
Mm-hmm.
You know, issue number 2 and 3 has Spider-Man and Nick Fury.
Yep.
You know, because on that front cover, you got Megatron and you got Spider-Man in the black suit at the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
which again is a
that's a smart move,
Wars and all of that connects. Yep.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool to have that. You know, and it's kind of they're in the same universe. Yeah, I mean, the same company is making it. I mean, you can put it in there, but
yeah. It gets a little messy once properties and licenses expire and you can't ever really come back to that.
No.
But this was at a time like not too long after Marvel had Godzilla enter Marvel's universe. Seeing Godzilla rampage through the Marvel universe is pretty fun.
And then think about that. They had so many licensed. Shogun.
Yep.
They had that too.
Yep.
That's Japanese. Japanese property.
Yep.
See another robot.
Shogun Warriors.
Shogun Warriors, right.
So yeah. And once again, I'm pretty sure these are all toy properties. I mean, just so many toy properties turned into successful lines of either comics or then ongoing cartoons and so on. So I mean, it's pretty amazing the stroke of genius that Hasbro and Marvel kind of concocted there.
Oh, very smart.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like y'all said before with the comic book, is that like Simon Furman, he did the 80 books, but he continued.
Well, not 80 in America.
80 in America.
He did 80 straight issues, or
no. He's from 280. 280. So from 56 to 80 in America, he continued on in the Marvel UK, I believe.
Yeah. So now in there, he breaks some records.
Oh, dude, see, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like he did a lot.
Yeah.
He did a lot.
And I don't want to stick my foot in it and guess wrong. I just know it's easy to say he wrote hundreds of.
We could say that.
Yeah. Of Transformer comics for Marvel UK.
Until this day, he's still doing it, I believe, right?
And he's also done a lot of those like other robot properties for other comic companies, and if I start naming them, I'll pick the wrong one. I want to say Robotech's definitely one of them, though.
Okay.
I'm gonna.
You gonna stick with that?
Yeah.
You gonna stick with that?
I'll go with that.
All right, now you gonna put it across the screen, right? When you say you're wrong.
When I'm wrong,
it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, you want to get a moment?
Yeah.
You want? Okay. Yeah. Check this out. So anyway. So in 1984, we got the Transformers, right?
84, yeah.
You know, we got the comic books, the toys, and the cartoon is coming out. But during that time, there is another robot property that's out there. And they're called the GoBots.
The GoBots.
GoBots. I'm not going to sing that. It's the song I catch you like Transformers.
Is it?
Is it though?
I don't think so.
Oh, no.
I don't think anything's as catchy.
So in 84, they came out in 84. They came out 6 months prior to the Transformers. They were the first to come out.
Now, were they first in Japan?
No, they were first here, I believe.
Okay, so they got the jump on
in the States.
Can someone tell me what's going on here?
I don't think we have time. Look!
Just didn't quite catch on like this did.
No, so it was made by Tonka. But no, it was a Bandai first, I believe. Bandai. Then Tonka.
Okay,
yeah.
That was I'm not gonna lie. So for me as a kid, I had the micro change size Transformers, little Bumblebee, all of that. I had the bigger sets that would have been, I guess, the Diaclone original.
Yeah.
But then I also had GoBots, and even those had different sizes. I'm pretty sure.
But you know, for the GoBots,
most of them were smaller.
Smaller, like the Leader one and the car and stuff. Willie, it was not Willie. That's Transform. What's the scooter?
I can
scooter.
see him right now.
What's the scooter? Oh, Scout.
Now I've got Mask and GoBots.
There's a lot going on, dude.
In my head.
There's a lot going on. I was not big. I knew some of the GoBots because at that time, man, they came out with Rock Lords. I'm like, what in the heck, man? Rock Lords? Rocks turn into robots.
Yeah, but you know what? They probably were like, hey, pet rocks were a thing.
Right. And I actually saw the movie.
You know what? I liked the GoBots cartoon, but I can't remember anything because it was just in that period.
Yeah, just that period.
You know, when I was a wee lad, that's when I watched GoBots. And I mean, I don't have any disdain for it. I kind of dug it, but the toys did feel a little...
and the toys were much cheaper too, though.
Which was probably why.
Yeah, it was much cheaper, right? So that's a little did you know moment tidbit there, man. Let you know people like, well, the GoBots were there too, but yeah, GoBots didn't have the longevity.
Hey!
No! I'm sorry, GoBots killed his cousin.
I'll rip your head off!
No.
Like the Transformer do today.
Yep.
And the thing about it now is Hasbro got the rights to GoBots.
I was just going to say, so what ends up happening with a lot of these kinds of things is, you know, and this is something in future episodes you're probably going to hear a lot about from me because it's one of my pet peeves, is that companies start to gobble up other companies.
Yes.
Whether it's record labels, whether it's toy lines, whatever. Phone companies. Like, this is just a common practice.
Capitalism.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, you know, a lot of absorption of different properties. And so now there really is no point, you know, but DC did that when they sued Captain Marvel out of existence.
Oh, right. Yes, they did.
Then ended up gobbling up the Fawcett Comics characters.
And Charlton Comics, too.
These days, we see these mixtures of sizes anyway still. You can get the smaller jets, you can get the smaller size Starscreams, but then you can get the
Masterpiece, Optimus Prime. Yeah. Then right here we got the Retro. They're bringing that back, Retro Transformers, which Retro means back in the 80s when it came out. Yeah, for you guys, the 1984 Generation 1. Yeah. It's pretty cool, man, because I'm reliving my childhood through all this. Because as a kid, like I said, I only got a few to transform. I wanted all of them. Mm-hmm. But what child didn't want all the Transformers, right? Yeah. And, you know, my mom and dad got me G.I.Joe, Transformer, He-Man, Muscles. Oh, you remember Muscles, dude?
Oh, yeah.
I had a couple of those.
Little guys.
Yes, yeah. I had those, too. I had them all playing on the same team.
Yeah.
That's the kind of imagination I had.
It became sort of like your own little Toy Story.
Yes. And I had that kind of imagination.
Peep has to make sense next to, you know, the Western doll and the astronaut.
Right.
And all that stuff has to.
So, yeah, I had G.I. Joe fighting the Transformer. I seen Cobra Commander fighting, Little Muscle Man fighting. I got He-Man over there.
I will say this. Even as a kid, it drove me nuts when toys were not that 3.75.
Right.
Because, so that, talk about a did you know. So it wasn't Star Wars. It wasn't Micronauts. It wasn't Microman. It was Fisher-Price Adventure People.
Oh, I remember those.
Yeah.
I remember those.
And some of those were really cool. Like there's X-Ray Woman, X-Ray Man. They're see-through with little Tron-type bits before, I'm pretty sure, even the Tron movie. I mean, some really neat stuff, but Fisher-Price. Okay.
Whatever. You know? Yeah, right.
So, yeah, you could technically have a bunch of adventure people. You could have G.I. Joes. You could have Micronauts. You could have a lot of those figures all.
And all in your little in your mind that, hey, look,
Star Wars.
They all in the same universe. You put them together. Yep. Good guy versus bad guy. I had a couple. I had Mask. I had all that.
Now, were Mask 3.75 or were they a little?
Oh, they were way smaller.
They were smaller.
It's small like the little Optimus Prime right there.
Wait, no.
They're little
figures.
Oh, man, I just went to I went to a toy store yesterday, and they this small, man. I mean, they're small.
Wow.
Yeah,
I do remember them smaller. I definitely remember that.
It's like that scale right there.
Yeah. So that always bugged me a little about Mask because, man, if those were 3.75.
Because as a kid, I'm thinking about it. I mean, it looks pretty neat to me, but as an adult, I see it now. They are very small.
Yeah. I was just holding a real cassette, and it felt like I was holding this because real cassettes are so small, but I was so much smaller myself. So I guess it just felt like this is like a huge, it felt like what now would feel like an 8-track. This is like nothing. These little toys, you just feel like you're getting nothing, but they're so neat. I'm just gonna start transforming.
Did you want to transform?
So, but yeah, I mean the So it does start to go back and forth. So we won't. We'll hold off a little bit on the cartoon show,
right?
But with the success of that show, Japan eventually kind of gets to license back some of this stuff.
Yes, they do.
So a lot of this starts to go, even as the toys, goes right back.
Back to Japan because they do it to this day.
Yes,
they do. You know, because the thing is, right now, you got Transformers sold by third party.
That's right. So I've always wondered what the deal is with that. When we went to the BotCon.
Yeah, remember that.
And as we were checking that stuff out, I mean, some of that's amazing. And I will say this: so it occurs after the movie. So we were not going to talk too much about the show and the movie, but in the Marvel UK Transformers continuation, which pretty much starts right after the movie.
The movie, yes.
Simon Furman's work here. There's a certain freelance peacekeeping agent that Rodimus Prime gets to try and find Galvatron after he's disappeared at the end of the movie.
And what is this guy's name?
We're talking about like headmasters and I believe it's Death's Head.
Death's Head.
If you have,
that sounds very scary.
It is because he's badass.
He sounds very scary, dude.
And if at any point in the future you see me and you have time to talk about our Lord and Savior, Death's Head. So this was a character they made to sort of inhabit this universe, but once again, you want to talk about a convoluted licensing character. He stays at Marvel, but he gets to go through all of these universes. And it's...
Yo, you're right.
It's pretty wild. There was a reason I was going to bring that up, but once I think of Death's Head, my mind just kind of gets distracted.
I see that. So what's the point, Dakota? What's the point? Can you remember? Dakota?
私は本当に死の頭が大好きです。